everyone. Welcome to another episode of In Conversation by Advisor Coach. Today in conversation, our guest is Mr. Gaurav Goyal, Head Sales and Marketing with Canara Robeco Mutual Fund. Welcome, Gaurav, to once again in Advisor Coach Conversation.
Thank you so much, Suren, for inviting me, and a very congratulations to you and the team Advisor Coach for doing the excellent work which you are doing, providing all the research platform to the entire industry. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your wonderful compliments. So for our viewers, today's podcast is a very interesting one because, SIPs has become a norm today, as we can see the numbers. But what is a goal SIP and how do we differentiate a goal SIP? How a fund is trying to actually differentiate a goal SIP when someone is doing an SIP? Is it really important to start an SIP in your child's name or the guardian, the parent's name? Or you can actually allocate certain value of your investments for your child's education? How are you being kept reminded about as to what the progress, where have you reached as far as the milestone of that goal SIP is concerned? So Canara Robeco Mutual Fund launched a very, very interesting goal SIP feature in this product. And of course, that's why we have Gaurav here with us to discuss more about it. So Gaurav, just to begin with, SIPs have become an SOP. So why goal SIP is important today, to your mind?
I think thanks for asking that question, Suren. And absolutely, you are right that if you look at in terms of SIP is a structural story in the Indian mutual fund industry. If you look at in terms of, we have more than 10 crore of SIP accounts. We have 46% of our mutual fund folios, which are SIP accounts.
Sure.
We have now highest ever monthly, more than 25,000 crore of net flows, which are coming through SIP. So there is a very, very strong momentum. We have got a very strong mind share as far as the SIP is concerned, although still we have a huge long way to go in terms of the SIP. Having said that, when you look at this entire SIP story, and there are still some challenges which are there. And one of the challenge which got our attention was when you look at in terms of the investor behavior at this point of time, still they have behavioral biases.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. There are still challenges in terms of getting the investors stay committed for the entire journey of SIP. Correct. If you look at in terms of while at the conversation, when any SIP conversation is there, it starts with some kind of live goals because investors, they're not investing in markets, but they're investing in goals. So they start in SIP with it could be short-term goals, it could be their long-term goals, but nowhere in that entire journey, they're able to keep a track of if I'm doing multiple SIP, which SIP I did for which goal. So these are some of, the current gaps which are there. And particularly, from a investor, when you look at in terms of the gap between the investor return and the investment return, it clearly comes out that investors react to the market volatility. They stop, redeem at the wrong time. So how do we bridge that gap? And from that perspective, when you look at the goal SIP, you will realize that goal SIP is a wonderful behavioral tool because it creates that dil ka rishta with all those goals. And when you create that emotional bond, when you get that apart from the mind share, that heart share of the client, what is the benefit which you get? You get your clients, you get your investors stay committed to the entire journey of SIP.
True.
Okay, and when you are staying connected for the entire journey of your goal, then definitely you will be able to bridge that gap between the investment return and the investor return. So from that perspective, I think the goal SIP is very, very relevant, very, very important, for all our investors.
No, perfectly. Absolutely. So Canara Robeco Mutual Fund, you launched the goal SIP feature just recently. Could you tell our viewers more about that in detail?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I think if you look at, as I talked about the current gap, which is being there in the SIP and, some of the challenges which we are facing as an industry, what we said is that, okay, one of the aspect that, okay, when any investor is investing in any SIP, they have their life goals. It could be your child education, it could be your child marriage, it could be retirement goals, your dream home, your dream car, your dream vacation, whatever it may be, correct? But they are investing for those goals. And if they are investing for those goals, there is a purpose for investment, which investor has. Can we look at a way that, okay, we can capture that at the time when the customer is signing up for the SIP? So you capture at the first level that purpose of that particular goal. The second is which we are giving a power of personalization as far as this goal SIP is concerned in Canara Robeco, that it gives the power to the investor to personalize it, to name it. And once you name that particular goal, it could be, for example, Soren's retirement planning, or it could be that Soren's red Ferrari, which you want to have it. You can actually name that as a Suren Red Ferrari in the goal, and
Sure.
which will, and what we have done beautifully is that working with the RTA in
Mhm.
this, we have got that integrated into the system. So while at signing up, the customer is defining the purpose, the investor is defining the goal, and he's personalizing that goal. It gives that power of to the investor to personalize any kind of any name which they want to keep it. And then in the account statement, when customer and investors are receiving the account statement, they are able to view that what is the name of this goal for which I have signed up the SIP,
Mhm.
what is the purpose of this goal, what is the goal amount which I signed up, and what is my current value. And really it helps in terms of nudging that customer behavior, investor behavior, because in case of market volatilities, we have seen that investors behavior, there is a bias in terms of the investor bias, for action, and maybe they redeem at the wrong time, they stop at the their SIPs, they do not complete their entire journey.
Right.
So
Right.
we are trying to create that dil ka rishta with these goals, and what helps investor is that they will stay committed to the entire journey of their SIPs.
Sure. So one question that tops my mind is that what I've particularly seen is that many people start SIPs, gold SIPs, for their children, education, marriage, and higher education, etc., etc. Where if the child is below 18, they create the folio, let's say X under guardian Y, child under guardian parent, and obviously they kind of allocate tactical commitment there. But at the age of 18, of course, they have to go through all that documentation, to get the folio going into the child's name because, the child has become a major. So here in your case, let's say a similar situation, a father wants to, or a mother wants to save for the child's education. So are you trying to say that the mother or the father can open the folio in their own name, but they have allocated this money and for the child's education, and it is very clearly mentioned in the statement of account that this money is going for this purpose only. So whenever they are trying to liquidate anything, they know that this money is not to be touched because this particular investment is going for that purpose. Am I right in my understanding?
So, Surit, yeah, absolutely. And I think it is a much, uh, I would say, not only from a child perspective, but any goals which you have as an
Right,
investor,
right.
correct? So, it could be any goals which are there.
Absolutely.
You can
My
map your
retirement planning.
SIPs. You can map your SIPs with those goals,
Hmm.
and those goals you will be able to see in the account statement.
Wonderful.
So, and clearly, so that you have a better visibility, you will stay committed to those goals, and therefore you have a clear bucketing of which SIP is there for which goal, and you can use your after achieving those goals an amount, you can use them accordingly.
Very interesting. And this goal SIP is available for all your schemes across?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I think if you look at the way the SIP is being done, it is exactly an SIP. But what we have added is that apart from it, there is definitely this wrap which we have created, and we have provided to all their investors the flexibility to choose the purpose, the flexibility to name the SIP, and of course, it comes with all those other benefits in terms of you have the flexibility to do any day SIP, because
Mhm.
a lot many I would like to have a debit which I can easily remember, which could be my marriage date or my birthday, or my son's birth date, or whatever it may be. So it comes with any day flexibility, it comes with perpetual SIPs options, all those options which are available in an SIP are
Mhm.
there. So from a process perspective, the only change which is there is that, okay, it gives you the flexibility, it gives you the power to personalize
Yeah.
this
I
SIP.
think this is
You
very
can
important what you just
bucket
said.
you can bucket your life stage goals, and you can start doing SIPs for each of those goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And hence it's a dil ka rishta.
Yes, that's
So how do you keep the investors informed about how their goals are progressing, and how does this help in mitigating the risk as well for this
no,
particular?
certainly. I
So
think
you can probably give an example.
as I shared with you that in the account statement, what we have incorporated is these additional fields.
Hmm.
So all the account statement which comes in, from the agency to the investor, investors will be able to view and track
Hmm.
their progress of the goals. So
Hmm.
if let's say you have decided, you started with a goal of 1 crore and your current value is 20 lakhs, and it
Hmm.
is for maybe, I'm just using that as Suren's, red Ferrari dream
I
car.
love that example, by
Okay.
the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, your account statement will show you that, against a goal of 1 crore and that red Ferrari dream car, your current value is maybe 70 lakhs, so 30% more to go.
Hmm.
So stay invested.
Hmm.
Stay invested on that journey,
Absolutely.
despite whatever the market volatility will be there. And once it is achieved, again in the account statement, it will show you that you have achieved it, and then you have the flexibility to utilize that and see it. And but I think from a investor perspective, what I would say that it is a great behavioral tool. It's
Hmm.
a nudge for the investors to stay invested, stay committed to that entire journey till the time the goal is achieved.
Absolutely. Because if the statement is communicating with the goal and the gap, it's a constant reminder that this particular money has been demarcated for this purpose and I cannot touch that money and I need to completely continuing deploying money here.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So what distribution initiatives have you taken, Gaurav, in marketing and educating for this fund with the distribution partners?
So, of course, I think the first is, we have just recently enabled that and launched the Goal SIP for all our partners. We are now taking this to the market. We are taking this to the distributors, talking about it with our partners, sharing with we have created marketing materials which are available so that they can, share with their investors. They can use that, in terms of the pitching with their investors. So whether it is in terms of AV for it, whether it is in terms of marketing materials and even marketing materials in the vernacular languages, so that
Oh, love.
they are able to speak and communicate to their investors in the language which the investors understand. We have
Hmm.
created some very beautiful enablers, and we have created a photo frame which
Hmm.
distributors can use. And
Oh,
I just want to take a moment and show to you if you are able to see. So
not very
this
well
is
visible. It's not visible.
so this is like, it gives you, flexibility, and investors can have their family photo in that photo frame. They can name the goals, which they have set for themselves. So that it keeps them reminding of, the life stage goals which they have, and they stay committed. So the entire, marketing material is available for all our partners to use it, to take it to the investors and, ensure that, okay, yes, all the SIPs which they are doing,
Hmm.
they are able to elevate their experience of the investors much better. So,
Absolutely.
in my words, if I have to use that in a very simple language for people to understand it, it's like, while you are traveling in an aircraft, it is giving a business class experience,
Hmm.
without any additional cost.
And the other thing which I was just thinking is also that if you look at the net SIP of the industry, correct? Though we all say SIPs are for the long term, net SIP is about 45 or 48% of the gross to net. And multiple reasons, people are closing their SIPs are maturing, though the overall gross number is going up. So typically any SIP to start showing its return, unless you're very lucky, then it starts showing return immediately. Otherwise, it takes about 2 to 3 years to start showing the compounding effect, etc. And that's the time when people stop the SIPs. So with the goal SIP and a constant reminder, it will also definitely increase the longevity of these SIPs.
100%. I think you have absolutely touch based a very important aspect of it. And I think if I have to look at in terms of what are the benefits,
Hmm.
which particularly all our partners can look at it. And again, from an investor perspective, is while a there is an emotional bonding which you get created. There is a dil ka rishta which you create with these goals, and therefore it will result into the longevity of your assets.
Yes.
Okay, certainly from a distributor perspective, that is a very, very immediate benefit. From an investor perspective, definitely we have seen that there's always gap between the investment return and investor return. And
Hmm.
clearly, this could be one of the behavioral tool which can be used, by investors and by distributors to bridge that entire gap. The second is when you look at in terms of the goal SIPs, another benefit is that when you start, one of the practices is that, okay, I want to do an SIP. Okay, so let me start with 1,000 rupees and 2,000 rupees, and what is the minimum amount? Okay, and that is the one approach of starting an SIP. But when you look at in terms of, okay, what is my goal, and then therefore look at what is that appropriate amount, which I should be doing, what is that right amount which I should be doing for an SIP. From that perspective, when you start looking at the SIP, it will increase your ticket size value. So clearly, from a SIP goal SIP perspective, that is another benefit which the distributors and partners can get. The third very, very important aspect is that if you look at in terms of when you start the SIP, it starts with the conversation around the goals, and then later on all the conversations around the return. If you look at in terms of the interaction, the conversations around what is happening in the market, what is the return, why, and of course from an investor perspective, he wants to do only SIP in the top 5 funds or the top 3 funds. But I think by this behavioral nudge, what can the power which all our partners can get is that the conversations will move from return to the goals. Correct. And even in extreme market situation, market correction, market volatility kind of situation, the conversation is not about the return. The conversation is about in terms of the goal. So they can change that entire conversation with the investors, and which will be beneficial for the investors in the long term. So that is another benefit. Another benefit and I've been propagating that to all our distributor partners in all our meetings and all our seminars, is that way of looking at what are the assets which you manage, the AUM, correct? I think that has to change for all our partners and for our industry, and we need to start talking about what is the goal under management. And I think when you start doing goal SIP, you can, from the present AUM, you will move in terms of the goal under management, and that gives you the power to see in terms of how your AUMs will move, how your growth will move, and therefore you can actually take a lot of business decision in terms of strengthening the business decision if you have the visibility of what are the goals under management. And I think that is something which is very, very important. I would say a business indicator for the success of any distributor as well.
Very interesting. I totally agree with you on this. So Gaurav, today through this in conversation, what message would you like to give to mutual fund distributors, advisors and investors, particularly about the goal set feature launched by Canara Robeco Mutual Fund?
No, certainly. I think there is a very strong value proposition as far as the goal SIP is concerned. While investors, we are just giving much more flexibility, a power of personalization to the investors. Please, all the investors, they have different life stage goals, they had different dreams. It is that we are giving the power to all our investors to actually decide the name of those dreams, give the name to those goals, and therefore also the power for them to track those goals and enjoy that entire journey of investment and achieving their goals. From a distributor perspective, I think it's a very important behavioral tool which we are giving to our distributors, which can help them in terms of their business, whether it is in terms of increasing their ticket size, whether it is in terms of getting their investors stay committed to the goals, to really see in terms of what kind of goals under management which they have. It will also definitely benefit them with the longevity of the asset. So I think they are very, very strong value propositions for both investors and distributors.
Sure. So, well, for our viewers, this is Mr. Gaurav Goyal, Head of Sales and Marketing with Canara Robeco Mutual Fund, talking about a very interesting feature launched just about a couple of weeks ago, the Goal Shift feature. Now, it may sound very simple to everybody, but it's a simplicity which always in the long term gets you the best of the returns, because that's what compounding does all about. So Goal Shift feature, keeping in mind in terms of particular goals and how all the initiatives which they have taken in communicating with the investor and with the distribution partner. So Gaurav, thank you very much for taking us through this Goal Shift feature, and we wish you the very best in great marketing and taking this initiative much ahead.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.